And now it is time for the ElseViews. This is the part of the show where me and Jackie and B, if he has one that he wants to add, we'll talk about the things that we have been watching over the past week, or weeks for people who haven't been on for a while. So Jackie, you actually, I think you're going to bring an interesting thing. Are you watching The Walking Dead?
Yeah, I'm watching it.
I'm not gonna lie, you actually got me caught up. You forced me to catch up because just with how, and it's one of these things, like I am now 2 weeks behind on Supergirl.
I might bring back my podcast if that's the case, and you'll have to guest.
Yes, I am a week behind on every other CW hero show.
Yeah,
just because working in retail and you're entering fourth quarter where you're busy and all that stuff, and you find that you ain't got time to TV.
Yeah,
but I saw in here you're like, when talking about Walking Dead, I'm like, all right, I'm 2 episodes behind. I can do it. Or actually, I was only 1 episode behind. I'm like, all right, done. Let's do it.
Oh,
and
cool.
So I watched. So I'm all.
Yes, yeah, awesome.
I'm all caught up. I have not watched an episode of The Walking Dead live yet, but that's also because it's also because they went up against wrestling.
Oh, sure.
I was doing something else, so I had to get caught up.
I can't stand watching it live. It drives. I just don't have the patience, and particularly to sit through commercials or like to think, okay, I have time I can take the clothes out of the washer, put them in the dryer, and then I can go. Maybe I can get back before. Like I can't stand that. I can't stand having to be. I want to watch it on my own. I want to watch it the next day, even if I'm watching. Say, I know that unless you pay for a AMC Premium or whatever, you can get them commercial free. That's still fine. I know when the commercials are coming, I can pause it to go do something, and then But I can't watch the show live. I mean, I do watch the show live, but I can't stand it. I can't stand watching it live, and I might not anymore now that I'm not really doing that podcast anymore. So I don't really have a need to, watch what everyone's saying and all of that. Do you watch The Talking Dead afterwards?
I haven't watched Talking Dead because what I used to do, and I found myself not wanting to do, is I would actually there would be times where I wouldn't be able to get home until Talking Dead had started. So I would watch Talking Dead, then watch the replay of what the episode that Talking Dead was doing.
Wow.
And all that.
Yeah, that's rough.
And so I'm like, and I was one of those things I'm like, okay, whatever, it is what it is. And then I'd watch, comic book men or whatever was on after that.
Oh yeah.
And so now it's one of those things, like I probably will, since I have, a day off tomorrow, I probably will watch some stuff like that. Hopefully, and not just watching Practical Jokers like I've been doing the past 2 weeks with time off. Which is not a knock against the Practical Jokers. It's just like when you're like, hey, you want to watch these things, and yet you're like, True TV, okay, brain shuts off.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. So you've been watching The Walking Dead, though, continuously. You haven't missed a season?
Correct. Okay.
Oh, cool.
I'm up to date on both the comic and the TV show.
Oh, good. Yeah, I've purposely kept myself back in the comics just to kind of be surprised a little and with how each season goes, and then I catch up with the comics afterwards. And I actually, it's not that I don't want to be spoiled so much of what could happen in the television show, which definitely doesn't always stick to the story, original story, of course, as we all know. But I almost now don't want to be spoiled for the comics by watching the show. Like I think I enjoy the comics in a different degree and level better than I enjoy the show.
What I've liked with them so far is there's been enough of a difference between the two that
yes
that you get, and I'm even talking pre-Negan, like to where it's like I knew a general outline of where things are going,
right,
and all that. And I would talk to people, I would post on Facebook, or I'd see people who post on there, and I'd be like, it's really cool how they used, for example, what was it, like 3 seasons ago, the episode where Rick was basically just curled up in this couch, or on this couch in this house. They took that from 2 issues of the comics, and it was great to see that. The debuts of Michonne, of Rosita and Eugene and Abraham, where it's like they literally, like the Walking Dead show, the set designers, the crew have this amazing ability to pull out Charlie Adler's art and make it real life.
Yeah, so true. It is. That is nice. That is really
it's
nice.
like with everything, like with with how they're with how
Wow, you're making me like The Walking Dead again. Stop! Don't do that.
and that's what I've liked. And so it's when I was like with seeing the hilltop and with seeing it's one of these things like I now what I want is a audiobook companion of the comics.
Ooh.
With all the actors reading their parts.
Wow.
In there. Yeah. So it wouldn't work with some of them because there isn't no Merle in the comic. There isn't no Durrell in the comic and all that. But yet we would get Carrie Payton doing King Ezekiel.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's one of those voices that when he's in the comic, I read it in his voice.
Oh yeah.
I get especially his King Ezekiel voice because he also, for Uber nerds who don't realize this, he's also Cyborg in Teen Titans Go. That just shows his range. He has because King Ezekiel, as he's you've probably seen it on Talking Dead where they talked about it, where it's more, he puts on the dramatic like he's doing Shakespeare.
Yes.
But with Cyborg, it is high. It is like this higher register that he's going to, where it's it's a lot of like this, booyah, and it's more excitable energies that he pulls with that. And I'm like, this dude is great. Like I'm like,
he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually, there's a lot of great characters that have been added with this whole, Negan war, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, all out war.
Yeah, I definitely, that because there was like I think one of the lowest points in The Walking Dead for me, which not for everyone. I know a lot of people loved it, but I really didn't like the whole governor in prison scenario. Yeah. That just seemed to never go anywhere, and was I felt very predictable all around. Yeah. And but now at least there's so many different. At first, it seemed like last season they were going everywhere, like every week was a different group or community, and I didn't have any problem with that, but I know a lot of people did, that they wanted to see it progress, like let's get to it, let's start the fight,
and those people, honestly, it's those people that I tend to not listen to, because it's one of these things, like when you read the comic you realize that, oh my goodness, name
Negan? No,
the author
Kirkman.
Yeah, Robert Kirkman. That's it. I blinked on it. I blinked. But with that Robert Kirkman, that he does these things in these in all the volumes. Like it's it's for the first however many volumes until they get to Alexandria and face Negan. So the first 100 issues, it is very much monster of the week sort of deal.
Yeah.
Like each volume they're fighting one bad, much like they're doing here, where they're fighting in each season they're fighting one big bad guy, whether it be the governor or the Terminus crew and stuff like that. Then what we get with last season is we get this this brave new world where we get all these people that they're realizing there's more than these people who were in Atlanta and the surrounding Georgia area. Because now, for people who don't realize it, they're in the DC area. They're in the Washington, DC area. They're still filming in Georgia because, tax breaks and all that stuff. But, they're set in DC now. And so it's just one of these things that you see here. And I've done this before. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. From reading the comics, I know where their next step is at, and it makes the logical sense. Because even like with looking at this past episode where they're fighting everyone.
Oh yeah, and I have a feeling
everyone shooting everyone.
This fighting part is going to definitely last the entire seson. I see it,
this season,
so it's not going to be. If people were complaining that there was too much backstory or individual stories, now now they're going to probably miss it.
This is actually where I tend to get a little bit worried, because they're getting dangerously close to being current with the comics. Because if they do what I think they're going to do with All Out War, we're going to have All Out, the whole season is going to be All Out War, which is what it was in the comic books. It was actually actually 12 years or 12 issues, All Out War Part 1, All Out War Part 2. It's what comes after All Out War that is really cool really sweet. And I'm keeping it vague for you, Jackie, as to not
No.
expectations.
Actually, that's fine. I'm going to probably going to go ahead and just get through them now. Now that you're talking about it, but
they next start the Whisperer War. What that is in the comics, anyways, is a group of people that hide amongst the walkers. That's the interesting part, because you look at it like here, they're fighting each other. They're clearly fighting, other people that they can tell, okay, this guy is a person. But what do they do with people who are hiding amongst the walkers that are, you don't realize they're not dead until they have stabbed you.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is going to be really interesting television.
Let me try to put the monkey wrench in the whole thing. I read the comics up until Negan showed up.
Uh-huh.
And then just was like, fuck this, I'm done, because I don't care about the characters anymore. I love Ty, and he was pushed back, and it went into places that I love dark material, but it was depressing. And when Negan showed up, I love me some Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I'm a Supernatural fan. That's one part of his charm. But that episode when he showed up, it was so gore for gore's sake. Not shocking.
That was my number one complaint.
Yeah. I stopped there, and again with the TV characters, because Ty wasn't there for a longer time. He died a bit dust earlier. I didn't care about any of the main characters we had.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, why should I even care going on from there if even the comics didn't help me to stay there? And they had introduced some new characters, but I was like, so what? Sell me the idea. Why should I keep on going?
Well,
because Fear of the Walking Dead, isn't it?
But it
wasn't helping.
I'm not going to be able to give you that answer. That's for sure. I'm struggling with it myself.
I probably won't be able to myself, because all I can say is you are reminding me of the beginning part of the letters page for issue 100, which is where you ended, Beat. And Robert Kirkman said, this is an ending, or this is an ending point. We reached 100 issues. This is going to be an ending point for some people. This is going to be an introduction for some people.
You sure did. Mm-hmm.
That's what's with Negan debuting on the TV show. That's what it was. With the death of, if you go from there, the death of someone, we don't know who, you could look at it honestly as yourself, as the death of the viewer, because you were going through Abraham's point of view with that, and then or that could be where some people jumped on, as they jumped on there, like, oh my gosh, just had this shocking moment, and then they probably binged like I did through the back 100 issues, I'm using air quotes around that, to get caught up. Honestly, I don't know what it would do for you, because it's where I see this, it's the same thing with other people who are watching Gotham. They're like, oh, you should be watching Gotham, you love Batman, you should be watching it. It's like, but when you see when I see an article that says they finally got Jim Gordon right, and the show has been on for 4 or 5 seasons now, that tells me they don't know what they're doing. They're just using these characters and telling other stories, but with these characters that have no relation to the source material. They're just like, oh, well, we want to tell this story, and we'll call this one guy Jim Gordon, this guy's Bruce Wayne. They're going to recast Poison Ivy 3 times, because why not?
Yeah, I had heard that they did that. I think I stopped watching around season 2, not because I didn't have interest in it. I just I enjoyed it, but I don't know, just other things, or maybe something. It was up against something. I think it was up against Better Call Saul for a while, even. I don't know.
Yes.
So
season 3 was much better than the first 2. They found their heading,
really?
And it became a little bit better. And the Penguin actor, what's his face?
Robin Lord Taylor, who was also in The Walking Dead.
Yes, he was. Yeah, that's right.
He kept it together. He was one of the parts we had to say, okay. And Morena Baccarin, who's always a reason to watch anything she's in. I know I'm simple like that, but she's a goddess. That's Just
Hey, it's okay. Commissioner Gordon would agree with you on that one.
but it had parts, and I stopped around season 4 because there was so much other stuff to watch. I didn't have the reflex to say, "Oh, the new episode is out. I have to watch it." It was like, I'll binge it sometimes, maybe a season or two, and if I even care, because it isn't all that, but it had its first season made some things better.
It's just becoming so hard to watch these shows, as we said, that have so many episodes per season when they have things like Stranger Things coming out. I mean, I have to drop everything I'm doing and watch Stranger Things.
Yeah, that's the other problem is like, you got these shows, Stranger Things is a perfect example. I'm still a season behind on Voltron. I love Voltron, and I still haven't seen any of season 4. And it's like, but there's all these things that I want to watch, but it's like, I got to have the job to pay for the services that I sometimes watch.
That's right. So true. Yeah. I mean,
you pay for the phone to watch the stuff on.
And when there were shows coming out like Stranger Things it was only 9 episodes this time, I believe. It's an easy thing. You can get it done over the weekend, and then when you catch up with people on Monday, you know what they're talking about, or you don't have to like walk away to not get spoiled. So it's like, because everybody else is doing it, and everyone goes through it and they watch it. It's kind of strange that like what Netflix and those shows have done, at least for me, I think, because I see some films sometimes and I think, wow, I wish this was an 8-part series on Netflix so I could enjoy it longer.
Yeah.
But that's really terrible. So, I don't know. I know I talked around the issue, but so I said I was going to bring up The Walking Dead and talk about the low ratings. How do you feel about this season so far? The first, are we into episode 3?
Yes, we're the first 3 episodes. I am enjoying it. I mean, this is where I get more into the technical side of things, where I'm liking the stuff that they're doing, that like that Greg Nicotero is doing as directing at least the first and the 3rd episode. I don't know if he directed the 2nd, but with some of the things that they're doing, where they're paying, the first episode where they paid a lot of homage to Dawn of the Dead, where it was a lot more static shots. Actually, I think the whole thing was static shots throughout the whole episode. That we're still getting this great story, and I am loving the story. I'm loving Negan, just because I find myself in my head, like when people at work are pissing me off, I want to just do the really and do like the Negan back hip thrust thing that he does. But I know that would look weird because I got a gut. So it's like, why are you showing off your belly? I'm like, I'm Negan, bitch.
Where's my
where's Lucille?
Lucille, right?
Like, honestly, I'm still enjoying the season. I'm not helping the ratings in the fact that I don't watch it live. So
Who cares? Well, I only got it for the first 2 episodes. The 2nd episode dropped 20% from the season premiere, which also had the show's lowest rating since season 2, which is pretty bad. But last year and the year before, it was always the highest rated show. Of course they've got to do bad, not have the ratings some years. I don't know. I do also think that it's ended. I think it's if they didn't do that crappy Fear the Walking Dead. I mean, I don't know that it's bad, but I only watched the first half season of Fear, and I just couldn't bring myself to watch any more of it. And it's really sad, because I was really looking forward to a spinoff of The Walking Dead and ending this story with Rick and all these people. But
to be fair, I thought they had good actors.
Yeah,
it wasn't their fault. It wasn't the portrayal. It's not much there to tell. That's the thing, maybe, that you follow this group of people and The Walking Dead is what brought it together, but there's not much to expand on, maybe. It's just nothing there, really.
This is what I think. I think a lot of it might have to do with some of the other things that we're on. So you look at the premiere episode, and you had the WWE pay-per-view, which was the return of Kurt Angle. which was big, for a lot of there's crossover there because hey,
I
I'm one of
have
those.
no idea what you're saying.
Basically, dude who hasn't wrestled for
okay.
for 11 years in this for this company, coming back, surprise entrant and all that stuff. So everyone's like, okay, boom, we got to go there. Then you also have the World Series for Game 5, and it's just like all these things, Sunday Night Football and all this that they're having to compete with. So it's sort of like, okay, yeah, it's sort of going to happen. I don't think that people should be worried quite yet.
No,
because I mean, I'm pretty sure the ratings +7 are still pretty good for the show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's doing wonders for AMC. So there's no way they're going to drop it, and there's no way they'll drop it right now until they've really kicked off their own streaming service.
This is the drop-off explained by the fact that you wanted to see who bit the dust with Negan. That was the reason everybody chimed in for the first episode, and then the drop-off makes sense to me somehow.
That was last year.
Yeah, but each season they say the first episode was good and then the following was bad. That repeated that story. That wasn't the first time that we heard that.
No, I mean it's honestly it's just one of these things. Like I think you can't be expecting. Like I remember this hearing articles like this when American Idol was big and popular, where everyone's like, oh, like they're getting monster ratings. They're the highest rated show. You can't really have growth because for a lot of things, it's like a pyramid scheme. At some point you're going to have where the things stagnate because you can't add new people because everyone's already doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Or, they're going to end up dropping off to then possibly come back, or they'll be like, it's ran its course.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I expect there'll still be 2-3 more seasons.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. Probably even longer than that. As long as it doesn't last longer than the Korean War, we're good. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I did do a podcast on it for a couple of years, since 2014, I think, and off and on with 5 or 6 different co-hosts. It was just actually what I enjoyed the most was making fun of the show with other people.
Oh yeah.
But it hasn't been so much fun lately, or just talking about it in general. But now I still watch the show, and I'm really surprised. I thought as soon as I stopped doing the podcast, I'd stop watching the show. But for some reason, I can't. I have to check in and see what happens to Daryl or Carl.
Yeah.
I don't.
Carl, get over here.
That was the biggest change. We all hated Carl at the beginning, didn't we? For the
Yeah.
longest time, he was the most annoying kid ever.
I didn't, but it was like I'm very forgiving of those type of characters.
And then he became badass Carl, and things changed. In the comics, he was similar, at the same effect. And his relationship with Negan was something else.
Yeah, that was different. But yeah. No, I mean Carl's okay. Oh, in this last episode, I guess in particular, one of the things they talked about it in Talking Dead later was the fight scene between Jesus and Morgan, which I thought was really good. Well done. And it made me, and I don't like fighting. I don't like shows where people stab each other. I don't like zombies. I don't know. I mean, but obviously I do. Because I watched the show. But I really enjoyed that fight scene. Like, I don't know. Enough about it to know why, but I did.
To add something here, I have there's a guy I do a podcast with that he says he doesn't like horror movies and he mainly watches them for his wife. He also hosts a horror themed podcast. So
well, they're trending these days.
Yeah, I would almost want to say that both of you doth protest too much.
I know, right? That's exactly what I'm saying. You hit it right on the nose. Yep. Absolutely.
So, Pete, is there anything that you want to share, or do I get to do a segue into mine?
I just want to say to people that we didn't talk about Star Trek Discovery yet, because we don't do much sci-fi here. I'm the only one that is really into it of our little group.
Well, okay, hold on. Rephrase that, because I will talk sci-fi, but I am not watching Star Trek Discovery.
I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I'll watch it, and I'll come back next week, and then you and I will talk about it, Beat.
Oh, amazing. And we're going to do a roundtable. We plan to doing a roundtable show from the network so that we get wait for the mid-season break. And then we're going to cover what we had there with people that are into it and people like me that aren't.
Awesome.
And there will be a comparisons to the Orville, so get prepared for that as well.
Oh,
Excellent.
I love the Orville. The Orville I am loving. I am all over that.
It's getting better and better about both.
Oh, you should get Tom Merritt on.
Yes, every day of the week. If that's an option, we'll do that. And just saying that it has something for everybody. And it became much better recently because McFarlane wasn't as present as in the other episodes. They became a serious Star Trek show. And Discovery is serious too, but it's serious bullshit. But it's a topic we'll get into the roundtable show. Just a small tease that will come up. On the
so
network.
Can I just point out here that when I read that, I thought you were joking because I thought you were saying an STD roundtable tease, not Star Trek Discovery, but like.
Would you prefer calling it disco?
Well, no, it was just more like my brain. I'm like, wait, what is he joking with me? And I'm like, is there something? Like, oh, okay.
I won't call it anything else. It is an STD.
All right, but yeah, so be on the lookout for that. Mine is actually, well, it is fitting because, you know, we could talk doom and gloom, and actually, I believe it was the director of the movie that I had seen that said, you know, why? Yeah, because, you know, the times we're in are so, you know, we're laughing all the time that we can just have serious movies going on over and over again. I'm, of course, talking about Thor Ragnarok. I don't know, Jackie, have you seen it yet?
I almost went this morning to watch it, the first show, in anticipation of this show tonight, but I didn't know what you guys wanted to, you know. Damn it. Anyways, no.
Oh, no, you are perfectly fine. You are perfectly fine.
I would have gone to see it just for the show.
Well, I appreciate that. But I will say this because I saw it yesterday because I was like, you know, I'm going to go see this. And boy, I do not regret this at all. I'm first off, I will point out, I will preface this by saying I'm a big Taika Waititi fan. You know, since, you know, he hasn't done a lot of stuff here in America, or that's made it here in America, but he's done one you can watch on Amazon Prime, What We Do in the Shadows. That is a mockumentary about vampires in New Zealand.
Nice.
It stars him and Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords. You know, it's got Rhys Darby, and there's a whole bunch of other people that are in there.
I have not heard of this. No, go ahead.
And they're talking about doing an American version of it as well.
Yes, they're talking about doing an American version of this. They've talked about doing a version that follows the werewolves in this universe called We're Wolves. There's like they've been talking about doing all these other things. He's also done a more serious movie called The Hunt for Wilder People, which stars Sam Neill and
Sorry.
yeah, it's a great. You laugh because at first I hadn't heard it like with the whole like wilder people thing, because they actually talk about that in the movie. So I thought it was The Hunt for Wilder People until I'm like, oh, that's why they're saying wilder. Okay, but no, both those movies are really great, and they're really low budget with with what you see for these movies, with how little of a budget that they had. It's amazing that that they did what they were able to do. This is Taika Waititi with a huge budget, with Marvel money, doing this, and good Lord, this movie is awesome. One of the things that I will point out right away that stuck out to me is the music. They have, now this is nowhere near Guardians of the Galaxy, where it's all like, I think 80-90% songs from the 70s, 80s, 90s, stuff like that. They use the song that goes na na. That song. That's the only song that they use.
That's Led Zeppelin.
That was
I can't think of the name of the song, and I couldn't think of the band. Yeah. And I don't have a great singing voice, so
no, I got it right away.
Yeah.
And just to be completist, it's the Migrant song.
Yes, that's it. That's right. Sorry. But they use that in the movie, and then everything else is done by Mark Mothersbaugh.
So it's like Shrek with 3 then.
No. Oh, you shut the fuck
They use the
up.
same track there. No, it was a great moment.
Yeah, they use the Immigrant Song in the beginning, and then they use it a little bit at the end. But then in the middle, it's. Have you ever seen? Oh God, what's the name of that movie? Oh God, Corey talked about it like 2 years ago. Oh, it's the Mad Max type movie, but with bicycles and stuff.
Whoa.
Oh God, what was the
With
name?
bicycles.
Yeah,
I
it's
Mad
a
Max.
Canadian one, but it's got this similar, like soundtrack to that movie. And I was watching throughout the movie. I'm like, why does the soundtrack sound so great? Like I'm loving it. And I saw Mark Mothersbaugh. I'm like, oh, that's why. For those of you guys who do not know who Mark Mothersbaugh is, he is one of the founding members of Devo, and he is the guy who did, at least for my childhood, did the music for Rugrats on Nickelodeon.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the guys who did Devo, because I think it was like him and a couple other people. Actually, I think it's him and his brother did the music for Rugrats. But
I like Devo.
oh yeah, and it's got this. There's humor throughout the whole thing, and it's great with how they do it because it's in Taika Waititi's style. He has a little bit drier sense of humor than most people. You'll start to see people in there that have uncredited cameos.
Oh, he also, sorry, as a side, he also composed music for the Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Oh yeah. Mark Mothersbaugh has done a lot.
That to me is a claim to fame.
Yes,
Good.
But you have Turbo Kid. That was the name of the movie I was trying to think of from 2015. That it has a similar soundtrack because Corey was talking about that and how he loved it and all that. But anyways, to go back here.
Oh my gosh! And the Wes Anderson films, Bottle Rocket, Rushmore, Royal Tenenbaums. Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So you have this.
I need to stop reading and listening and listen to you instead. Sorry, go. This is a bad podcast guest.
Here's the hook. Matt Damon's in it. In an uncredited role, he plays Loki in a play. And then the best part is I recognize 2 out of the 3 because they do this play thing to close up the loop of where's Odin. Because we're all like, oh, well, Loki's been hiding as Odin and all that stuff. And he's been doing all these things to get, just to glorify his ego. And he does this play of, it's like the tragedy of Loki or something like that, where they have actors playing Thor and Loki and Odin. And I realized, because, one, he's clean shaven and stuff. I'm like, I'm like, that's Matt Damon. They got Matt Damon to play a bit character in this movie.
How do you like them apples?
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. And then Odin came out, and I'm like, "That's Sam Neill." But that one, I'm like, that one was more like not the he got to do a bit character. Like that's one of Taika's friends coming in for the day. And then I was talking with one of my friends at work, and we were trying to figure out who played actor Thor. Chris Hemsworth's brother, Liam Hemsworth.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's why I couldn't picture. Like I knew who it was, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I'm like, wait. He looks like, oh, it's his little brother. That's why. But you go through, they do brilliant in here. Now, I will point out there is actually a little bit of controversy with the movie, and that is with one of the characters who.
Did that character sexually harass somebody?
No. It's nothing in that way.
Back in the 80s.
No, it's in the rights of the character. So one of the actors in here who is in a lot of Taika Waititi's stuff, she plays a character named Topaz.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with this character is, to get into the Corey side of things, Topaz is not owned solely by Marvel. Topaz was in an imprint not an imprint, it was in another comic book publisher that was more like Image, where it was creator owned. So, and the rights still work to where, since they used her in this movie, they owe money to the creators of the Topaz character, in theory. I saw the article about that, and I was just like, wait, that is an interesting way to look at this, and that could bring problems.
That's Angela kind of weird. If you're into Image
a little
bit, the game and story,
yeah,
that goes too deep.
Yeah, a little bit. You're not far off with that. What I would say with that is a little bit, but it's more like if Angela was created by both Neil Gaiman and Todd McFarlane, correct?
Just Neil Gaiman.
Just Neil Gaiman.
It was in Spawn, but yeah, there was some ruckus between who has rights, because, and how, and why.
Yeah, it would sort of be like if every time Marvel used Angela, or actually no, every time that Todd McFarlane used Angela in Spawn, he owed Neil Gaiman money. That's sort of the situation we have here with the whole Topaz thing. But it was just one of these that I was like, that's actually really interesting to see and to to think about. That it's sort of like, wait, what's going on here? But overall, honestly, I love this movie. The Stan Lee cameo is great. It's right there in the middle of the movie, so you're not sitting there worried like, well, where's Stan Lee? This is honestly, in my opinion, this is one of the first Marvel comic book movies where you get a lot of the Easter eggs or like there's some of the Easter eggs that you will get if you pick up, but you have this brilliant part of Doctor Strange is in here. And he's building, and it ties in with the ending, the one bonus scene from Doctor Strange and all that. So you're sort of getting what you'd see in comic books where they're talking about something and they go asterisk as seen in Doctor Strange issue number 125 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just it's a really cool movie. If you love any of the things, any of the Marvel stuff, go see it. If you love Taika Waititi's stuff that he's done, go see this. It is so good, and it's they're sticking true to the character, and there's not much more I can say. I'm just going around in circles now.
No, it's good to hear that you thought so much of it. I've been hearing only good things about it, so I kind of regret not making it out there this morning.
Then talking about the question, I also heard it was one of the darkest Marvel movies at the same time. Is there some merit to that?
Yeah, because it's so. For me, a lot of the darkness comes with the whole Banner Hulk relationship, and even with Ragnarok, because for those of you guys who do not know what Ragnarok is in Norse mythology, this is the time when hell freezes over, all this stuff, basically Asgard is destroyed, sort of deal. So that's what they're facing here in the comics, and you have this really touching moment. I wouldn't necessarily say it's dark, but with Odin passing the torch of sorts. But I mean, it is such a great movie to have where it can be both serious and dark, but yet be funny at the same time. But so the other part I will say is because they I watched the trailers and I was telling myself, okay, if I see if I even hear the burn for Star Wars, I'm just gonna close my eyes and plug my ears because I want to go into Star Wars blind. Thankfully, I didn't see any of that. But the trailers I saw were amazing. The Justice League trailer, I'm wanting it to be 3 weeks from now to where the Justice League comes out, because the trailers have been slowly building to where it's like, where I don't think I've seen too much of the movie, but yet I'm sold on the movie now. They showed a trailer, I think it was one of the first full-length trailers for Black Panther. Good God, that movie looks great. I do not think that Black Panther is going to be the weak link in the chain for these movies.
Power to the people.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Marvel's doing these great little things to hint at the comics and what they're doing now. So much so that when Black Panther comes out, I sort of want to see a special thanks to Ta-Nehisi Coates, who is the Black Panther writer in the comic books right now. There's a line in Thor Ragnarok that Bruce Banner gives of, he felt like there's 2 years that have passed between Civil War and Ragnarok. And they explain, what Thor had been doing and all that. And then they get to Banner's side because, how did the Hulk end up on Sakaar, this bet, for the Contest of Champions with the Grand Master and all that stuff. And he then realizes once, that he's been the Hulk for 2 years straight. He's never done that. As he put it, both of them are driving the car at the same time. They're fighting over control of the car. Well, this time it was like Hulk is driving the car, he's locked in the trunk, sort of deal. That's an analogy that they've used in the comics right now, that Greg Pak has used in the comics right now with another character who is the Hulk. And it's those little things that I'm like, ooh, that's so great. That's so touching in general. But then, you're adding this other little layer here too. But yeah, so that's Thor
I
Ragnarok.
noticed that Taika Waititi is supposed to do the Akira live action movie for Warner Brothers. So I'm interested in that because that's another direction going, because there's much seriousness to it.
Yeah. It's he can do serious stuff when he does strike a great balance, with his comedy and his humor, things that he has done. But yeah, I mean, this, Thor Ragnarok is his biggest movie budget to date that he has done. So I mean, that's
Marvel's smart taking people that do comedy right, because comedy is fucking hard. So if somebody can pull off good comedy, they're good directors or good storytellers in general. So Marvel does know what they do. They do it so well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you definitely have to be a good storyteller first for writing comedy. I never have the self-esteem enough to think that anything that I write is funny to anyone else, but
yeah, I mean, go check it out. I mean, honestly, go check it out. It's in the theaters. Yeah, I highly, highly recommend it. And also, he voices Korg. So the other thing that I noticed with his, and this is just last little aside thing, with his previous 2 movies that I'd seen, he always has as one of his mainstays is the actress Rachel House, who I was talking about, who plays Topaz, but also has Rhys Darby. For a second, I'm like, there was this one split second where I'm like, Taika voices Korg in here, one of the characters. Just great comedic relief character. Oh, hey, this is my friend Doug. Sort of deal. In my horrible New Zealand accent. But he's always talking about this guy named Doug who faced the champion before. And then he goes, well, oh, how do you do? Oh, Doug died. and stuff like that. There's a split second I'm like, wait, is that Rhys Darby? Like, they had such similar voices where I'm like, I think it might have just been like, oh, I can't say this line. Can you say this here, Rhys? Really quick. But no, honestly, great movie. Go watch it. And yeah.
Super. Yeah. And I'm also looking forward to Justice League too. So I'll probably see that within a week. I don't really go to films the day they come out, or the weekend of, like, particularly since my work allows me to go do things whenever I want. I always try to go like in a matinee first showing early as possible, so there's nobody else there. But
yeah, I think I might start trying to do that now, because the last movie I saw in the theaters was Baby Driver.
Oh yeah.
That one I had, and I wish I went with other people who want to go to the movies with me, so I can then do the whole, like I'm talking to them, but really I'm talking to the people behind me, where I can just go, it'd be really nice if I can hear this movie instead of the people who are behind me talking.
God.
And then
effing millennials, man.
Yeah. And then, well, hey, first, I am a millennial technically, but you're not far off. The other part in Thor Ragnarok, we're in the climax, 3rd act, and dude, in front of me fucking pulls up his phone, pulls up Facebook, and I want to be like, and I didn't have popcorn, so I didn't have any ammunition to throw at him. I'm like, I'd be like, he was on it long enough where I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna just stand up and go turn on, and be like, all right, and just get real close into his ear and just go, are you enjoying the movie or Facebook?
Was that guy Mark Ruffalo? Because he had his phone on and people had to tell him that to turn it off. So
really?
You have to be.
I wish it was there. Mark Ruffalo. But, I understand, because I wear a smartwatch, and I was scratching my head, so I was always conscious, like that, like like people behind me, like, he's showing us what time it is and stuff like that. When but it's never. I'm like, there's a difference between you turn on the phone, check
doing
the time.
that. Yeah, no, it's terrible.
Yeah, checking the time versus scrolling through, watching a video that's muted.
Yeah,
difference. That's the difference. That's where I wanted to be like, again, just go around and just be like, and then pray he doesn't punch me in the face, because I'm like, I get like right here, right in his ears, and be like, are you enjoying your movie?
Yeah, I used to be a projectionist for a long time, in college, and so I built a lot of prints and would screen them, and that's how I watched everything. And if there was a film that was playing across town that wasn't playing in my theater, the projection, we were all friends with the other projectionists, and so we would all come and watch whatever film, And so it would be, 2:00 in the morning on a Thursday night, the night before it came out. And so that really spoiled me in theater watching, because I either want to sit in that theater by myself or just know that the only other people in there are people who respect film and like know how to behave or not behave depending on the film.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's, again, I go back to it. There is a time and place for it. If this was, if this is his, and I hope he's listening.
Rocky Horror Picture Show, go crazy. Yeah,
but it's like when you're in climactic action scene, and all I'm saying, and granted, thankfully his phone wasn't like, full bright. It was a dim screen, but it was just enough to where I was sitting, because I was sitting not in, directly behind him, but he was like over here. I'm like, I could see that, and it was just like I was thinking like, who around me has popcorn? And I was like, everyone has a popcorn, and just
yeah,
where the dude, and then they were standing up and they were talking during the credits, which I'm like, all right, fine, that's me having to get to allow that, because we're waiting for the other end credit scene, and they're sitting there talking, but they're standing over here, and I'm like, there's part of me that wants to give them like, did you enjoy your Facebook session when you were watching the movie, asshole? But then the Canadian polite side of me comes out, and just I'm like, I have to squash.
It would have been really good if you could have picked up on any of the content from his Facebook and then talked to him about that later. Like, that's really terrible.
Oh, I could have. I mean, like, so did you see this video of a white cat? Just standing there doing absolutely nothing because it's a fucking cat.
You should have gone to him, taken the phone, and do beauty smartphone. Gregor smash.
There you go.
Hulk smash phone. I should have. Oh, that would have been perfect. Because Hulk was on the screen at the same time. Oh, God damn it, Pete! Why don't you live in America?
Jeez. Yeah, that's another story.
Lucky him that he doesn't.
But the third part of taking stuff that is owned by others, Hulk being owned by Universal, is a third story that is in there. That movie has so many things that are oddities, if you think about it, in the industry, that are kind of amazing. That it comes together in a such good way.
How much does Universal have on the Hulk, though? Because from what I understood, it was, and this does sort of lead to our ElseWords, but how much? Because from what I understood from the whole Universal owns the rights to the Hulk. I thought that was like they're like, since he's being used in other films, it's not a Hulk film. It's he's in the Avengers and Avengers 2 and
it's kind of like
Ragnarok,
Spider-Man: Homecoming, and kind of not.
The galaxy far, far away feels closer now than ever before, and your guides through this galaxy are ready to help. I'm Zach Hagenbusher, one half of the new Jedi Archives podcast with Ben Schultz. Join us every other Tuesday for our experiences with the Star Wars saga, from the core films that we know and love, well, some of them, to the annals of history and the works that shaped Star Wars into what we know it as today. Just jump in wherever you'd like. Download an episode of the new Jedi Archives today.
For more on this Galactic Network podcast, go to gncast.com. That's GNCASTS.com.